the more underreported stories last week in terms of reaction from the cultural centers in the West, in America specifically. The Chinese government's crackdown on the tech and entertainment sectors, they don't want any more, I'm using their phrases, right, sissy idols, effeminate men, and also they want to guard against any sort of media or entertainment that is, quote, overly entertaining, unquote.
Yeah, you can only play your video games for 3 hours on the weekends only for kids.
They want more emphasis on traditional Chinese culture, revolution culture, and socialist culture. They also will, according to the apparatchiks there at the National Radio and Television Administration, yeah, they have such a thing, they will establish a correct beauty standard and also boycott, censor, ban vulgar internet celebrities. So our elites in finance and Hollywood and government, no comment on this? Entertainment, no comment? LeBron James, would you care to comment? What does that say about China's trajectory? The Chinese communists, you have to be clear all the time because, of course, people want to misinterpret this as something that's race-oriented rather than ideology-oriented. The Chinese communists, the communists in charge of the country of China, that's who we're talking about, and the totalitarian system they're imposing and the genocide they're committing. That's who we're talking about. What does that say, the reaction or lack thereof, continuing, the wringing of the hands for cameras, but little else with respect to understanding and maybe reevaluating our relationship and providing leadership in the world to reevaluate their relationships with the Chinese communists? Or at this point, is that ship left the port? Well, let's talk it through with our next guest. He is Desmond Shum. He was born in Shanghai, raised in Hong Kong. He developed the largest air cargo logistics facility in China, the Beijing Airport Cargo Terminal. He also led the development of the Bulgari Hotel in Beijing. And he's got a new book out called Red Roulette, an insider story of wealth, power, corruption, and vengeance in today's China. The only way he develops those projects that he develops is with interaction with the Chinese communists. We know that, so he should have great insight. Desmond Shum, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. First thing I have to say, I'm very happy to talk to you guys in Chicago because I went to Wisconsin, Madison. I used to be in Chicago all the time.
Yeah, but you left like everybody else is leaving Chicago.
And Chicago's not how you left it. We can guarantee that.
All right, we won't hold the UW-Madison education against you. But but before we even get to that dynamic, the business endeavors that you were successful in I assume some sort of coordination or interaction with the Chinese government, the disappearance of your ex-wife, this is a chilling story, and so I just want to get right to that, and the re-emergence of your ex-wife upon the publication of this book.
Yes, she actually, almost to the day, she was disappeared by the state on September 5th, 2017. And I'm coming out with the book, actually just launching today. And the news about my upcoming book came out, the two big stories on FT, Financial Times, and Wall Street Journal last Friday. And miraculously, she appeared on Saturday. She reappeared on Saturday, may I say.
Well, so did she reach out? Did she call you? How did that happen?
Yeah, I think she came out on Saturday, sometime on Saturday, and then it was middle of night. I have moved over to United Kingdom. I'm living in the UK now. And it's middle of night here, so she called my mom and my cousin, and so they sent me a message. When I got up in the morning, I saw the message. I was just, dropped to the floor. It's just like, really? Wow, is this really happening? So I call her.
Yeah, and so what do we understand? What do you understand about her disappearance and reemergence? Where was she?
She wouldn't say. I'm sure her phone is being listening. It's just, her line went dead for 4 years. I don't assume they give you the phone next day and say, well, you can call anybody in the world, right?
Right.
So I think she's being very cautious on, she knows she's being listening to everything she say. And also she said, there's several things she said. First of all, she said she signed a paper of temporary release. So she's not official release, and she said they can take her back anytime.
And the they is the Chinese government. And why?
Yeah.
Why was she disappeared? Why is she in their custody?
They actually, over the last 4 years, they never even acknowledged they have taken her. So it was a lot of guesstimate on our side. And then on the call this time, I asked her, what's her charge? And she said, her reply was, it need to be kept confidential. She cannot disclose what her charge is.
Wow, and you have a son together, correct?
Yeah, we have a son. He's 12 now. He talked to his mom for the first time in the last 4 years.
Last 4 years.
So give us the backdrop of how something like this could happen, and maybe does happen routinely, particularly since you and my understanding from the reading is your ex-wife, you were successful business people there. You had to be to some extent in with the in crowd. So how does that go awry?
Well, first of all, in China, the way the things works, and that's one of the things I want to review in the book, is anybody, if you're running any type of business, if you are running a corner shop selling newspapers and Pepsi Cokes, you need to be in bed with some political power, maybe a police cop on the beat on your street. Just in our case, we went up, reached, we were in partnership with the wife of the then premier of China.
Okay. And so yeah, like you said, you have to be involved with the authorities at any level. Okay. But you were
Yes.
involved with the authorities, the Chinese communists at the highest level. And so
Right.
How do you fall out of favor? Or your ex-wife, or both of you?
It actually, what happened is, how should I put it? First of all, why she is taken for 4 years, I don't know. It's all guesstimate. But I'm guessing that's with the change of political wing in Beijing. I think a lot of, we all seen, on a global stage, how the politics of China has changed and how the behavior of China has changed in the last, under this regime of Xi Jinping. And then I assume she is associated with the wrong crowd and maybe heard the wrong, get wing of the wrong, some high level politics that she shouldn't be known of, and then she become a nuisance and got disappeared.
And does she want your book to be published and to come out today, or is she trying to stop that?
Actually, I think one of the reasons they let her out on temporary release is get her to call me and stop the book.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
she should, because I don't know who I'm talking to in a call, because she could be just, listening to a happy earpiece and then being a sounding board of the official bureaucrats at the bank, right? And then even if that is not the case, she we all know she's being listening on her calls. She's giving certain tasks she need to do, and then so she was basically threatening me, delivering a message. Basically, she raised the question, what happened to our son if something happened to you? She said,
right.
what happened to you? How will you feel if something happened to our son? At one stage, she even say, you go on with this project, it's going to cost a life.
Oh.
And the truth is most likely just the opposite, because thugs like these like to beat people up in back alleys, not in the public view. And what you're doing by publishing this book is bringing them out into public view and giving this case notoriety it previously didn't have.
Yes, I believe the world knows too little about China. The world knows too little about the party state that controls China. I mean, I think it's very important. I mean, I started this book this book project years ago. But if you look at the events of the last 2 years of this pandemic, I think it's even more important for people to have an understanding of what we are dealing with here, this party state.
Well, give us a summary.
This pandemic, yes.
I mean, and the pandemic is a good backdrop. You're right, but I mean, so is the concentration camps with the Uyghurs and so many other examples. So, give us a sense of what we're dealing with, what we don't understand about what we're dealing with.
I think we don't understand. Essentially, it is may I use the word mafia state?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is at the top is a group of people who are descendants of the quote unquote founding fathers of today's China, and the back is ruling over this country, and this is by bloodline. It's almost the aristocrat of the medieval time. Their sons are now in power. Xi Jinping obviously is a second generation. His father was one of the top 10 generals of in the 40s. And their sons are power. The grandsons are in power. They intermarry among themselves, and they will always be there. And entrepreneurs, whether it's my ex-wife, whether it's us, or whether people like Jack Ma, we are pawns in the game. We are all sacrificable.
Right, that's important. Even Jack Ma, Alibaba, the multi-billionaire, nobody has enough money to be insulated from their vagaries.
In China, as many anecdotes of my story will tell you, money counts for nothing. It's all about political power. In the eyes of the political power, Jack Ma counts for very little. Their view is, hey, I can wipe you out tomorrow, and I will pop up another Peter Lee, Jack Lee, whoever. I can recreate the richest person tomorrow. And that's no such a thing called private property protection. The state look at everything in the state, every bank account in the state, whether the company own it or the private individual own it, is the property of the state. A person like my ex can disappear for 4 years with never been charged.
And so, do you think that American politicians have an appreciation for just exactly what the intrinsic nature of the Chinese Communist Party is? And if not, what should we be doing in terms of how we engage, how we deal with China that we're not doing? What should we, what sort of position should we take? What's the weakness of the system other than its internal contradictions domestically?
I think the first thing important is to raise awareness of what are we dealing with here? What is China and what's their intention? I think one of the very important thing to realize is the Communist Party and the elites of the Communist Party know that their hold on power is illegitimate. They never run an election in the 70 years they're there. And so they're paranoid. And because of their paranoia, they want to wipe out all possible threat to their hold on power. So that's why the internet is blocked. Misinformation is rampant in that country, and all news outlets controlled by the states. And because they're this paranoia, they want to even control the dissenting voices, anything they perceive as possibly with threat. Be a threat to their hold on power, even in foreign countries. That's why when Australia come out and say, well, we need to know the origin of the pandemic, they immediately start a trade war with Australia. And then so that this desire to permanently hold on to a power they themselves sees as illegitimate will eventually bring them to the stage that, well, until I have the whole world under my thumb, I will not feel secure. It's this intense sense of insecurity push them to say, I need to conquer the world in whatever form they may perceive. So that is a...
And so if you were advising, American policymakers, how would you suggest that they confront China? And that includes, by the way, corporate America, too, who they seem to be doing a nice job of compromising through basically payoffs.
I think, if just looking the case of my ex, without charge can be a person can be without charge disappear and fall into a blood cell for 4 years. And she herself told me the day before, she never have, in over the 4 years, she have no news of the outside world. Does anybody want to live in that world like that? And that's what the world will be if China has the rule of the world. So I think you as politicians need to realize and understand you are dealing a sworn enemy. You may not realize, you may not be sworn to oppose them, but they are a sworn enemy of yours by their choosing. And once you realize that, I think today the Biden administration is talking about, okay, we can cooperate on certain things. We're gonna stand our ground on certain areas, and then we're gonna try to work together on certain areas. It's not gonna happen. You can try, just like look at the last Kerry trip to on climate change last week. Anything come out of it?
No.
What's their word? They basically say, okay, climate change is a bargaining chip.
Yeah, right.
Right. They say you want to work with you on climate change. We need to change so other terms of all our relationship.
Is there any difference between Putin and Xi? I mean, are these both guys that talk in the lexicon of revolution, but are really, as you talked about mafia state, are really just kleptocrats at their heart?
I think there is quite a bit of difference. I think the way they hold on to power, the Communist Party is a party state. I think, to my understanding, it's limited. Russian and Putin's hold on power is in a different form. And also, obviously, I mean, China now is 7-8 times the size of Russian economy. And then they have reached around, across the world and continue to go and come out. So we're dealing a very, very different animal here.
If you were the CEO of an American company, would you do business in China?
That is, I have friends who are in those positions. That is a very tough decision because the capital market in the U.S. is very short term. If I'm a CEO today, my question is, I'm gonna turn out the quarter report. Okay, this, I go set a factory in China. I know they're gonna be stealing my technology. I know that I will be creating competitors. But that will be a real threat to the existence of my company 5 years down the road, and I will have make my paychecks, my bonuses over those 5 years. But if I don't go to China and my competitor went, my growth will be, let's say, 20% slower than my competitor, and then and how I'm going to explain it to the board, and am I going to get my next bonus? So it's this short-termism which is built into the capital market in the U.S. So I think in this kind of situation, it's very hard for, unless the government step in. It's the capital market, just the way it works, the capital market does. It's very hard to stop the American company to go to sort of cozy up to the Communist Party if they see a profit opportunity.
He is Desmond Shum. He's born in Shanghai, raised in Hong Kong, developed the largest air cargo logistics facility in China, the Beijing Airport Cargo Terminal. He also led the development of the Bulgari Hotel in Beijing. The book, Red Roulette, An Insider Story of Wealth, Power, Corruption, and Vengeance in Today's China, Understanding Who We're Dealing with the Chinese Communists, which just releases today. Pick it up. Red Roulette is the book. Desmond Shum is the author. Mr. Shum, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
If you're not growing, you're dying. Illinois isn't growing. We'll start there with wirepoints.com CEO Ted Dabrowski, 737.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
67 degrees at 7:32. It's a milestone this morning in the fight against that huge wildfire that threatened the Lake Tahoe area.